Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas. This is how to make an RPG in Unity, and welcome to episode 14. So this episode we're going to do a little bit more of what we did last time in regards to this little text here, but we're also going to look at enemies, and that's going to be our main focus this episode. So what I want to do is quickly add in a little animation for this text that we put in last time. So I think we put it in right at the end, didn't really have time to animate it. So all it's really going to contain is just make sure we're in the cutscenes folder. On the text itself, animation, let's create a new one, and we want to start it off. In fact, what I might do firstly is I'm just going to bring it down. I think I'd like it at the bottom here. That should probably do. Let's create the animation, and let's have text. In fact, we'll call it Jimmy Town Fade, and I'm going to start it pretty much the same as everything else. This is just a quick little recap to carry on from the last episode. We'll start it at 0 on the first frame, so we've got to make sure we press record first and set it to 0, hit enter. We'll fade it in over the course of 2 seconds, so 120, hit enter, and 120 we'll have it as full 255, hit enter, and I'll keep it on screen for 5 seconds, so we'll add another 300 to that, so that'll be frame 420, and then we'll change the color to 0 alpha. Sorry, we'll keep it as 255 alpha. So retype 255, hit enter, and then 2 seconds after that it'll be faded out completely. So that'll be another 120 frames, so that'll be 540. So at the 540th frame it'll be 0. Done. So then it's just a case of, same as last time, remove the animator, add animation, drag it over, and change it to legacy. So we'll quickly do that now, and then that's pretty much our cutscene at the beginning done. We don't really need to do much more with it now. Obviously you would take as much time as you need to go through it. So there we have it. So what's going to happen now is, let's wait for this to disappear, is we're going to bring in an enemy. So because we don't really want to watch that every time we test our game, let's disable it. So what we can do is cutscene object and turn it off. And let's just press play again just to make sure. Okay, so it's still running through the motions. So scene cam is obviously going to have to be turned off as well. Scene music is going to have to be turned off as well, but we can put these in a little folder. So game object, create empty, F2, cut scene. And I'm going to bring in the cutscene object into there, scene music into there as well. And let's move cutscene above scene cams there. Let's just make sure our FPS controller is back on and press play. So we just need to turn off that text that we've done as well. So that is everything. So as if we have no cutscene. Obviously when you have your cutscene in, you would reactivate all that, but we don't need to right now. So let's bring in our enemy. So let's create a folder. In our assets, let's just close everything up there. Right click, create folder, and let's call it enemies. So in this folder, I'm going to drag and drop this spider folder, and this asset can be downloaded on the website for free. Links in the description below. Head over there, download an assets, and download the spider from the RPG page. So let's zoom in on our first person controller, and let's have our spider enemy somewhere over here. So it's kind of out the way of the village a little. So I'm going to just place our spider enemy here. So in the folder and in models, just need to drag and drop this spider right there. Let's rotate him a little, 180. So as he's kind of facing this way. He doesn't look too menacing right now. He's not exactly the best looking spider in the world, but you know, feel free to explore the asset store. There's tons of great stuff in there, even for free, that you can download. So we've got our enemy in place, we've got our weapon ready. Now we need some crosshairs. So game object, UI, and let's just go raw image, because we can do this really easily. So double click on that raw image and let's turn this into a line where we can have another line as a cross. So you're going to want it centered, which is already default. Width, you can have it as long as you want. So let's just say, let's have it as 15 for now. And height is going to be fairly thin on this because we're going to do it across. So let's have it height as maybe 4. See how that looks on screen. Okay, a bit thinner I think. Let's have it as 3. And what I'm going to do is hold Control, press D to duplicate, and then rotate on the Z. I think we should do it by 90. And there we have a simple cross as a cursor in the middle of the screen, so we can actually see directly where the raycast is now going to be dispersed to. So obviously, by the time we pick up our sword from the quest, we've still got this cursor. We're going to want to attack this enemy over here. Now, we will eventually get onto some simple AI in regards to the spider, but for this episode, we just want to concentrate on being able to inflict damage upon it. Best thing to do for this is if we go to our spider, and we're going to encompass it in a cube. Now, I'm not going to use Mesh Collider because having too many Mesh Colliders in one scene can kind of slow performance down a little bit. So you kind of want to avoid as much as possible, but in some cases you do need a Mesh Collider. So to do that, what we're going to do is right-click, 3D Object and Cube on the spider, and then uncouple that cube from the spider itself. We're going to want to bring it up and across and make sure the cube is now stretched to cover at least what you would expect to hit on the spider. So we can just stretch like so and stretch it upwards to about there and then lift it up. So that's pretty much the area of where we're going to be able to attack our spider. So I'm going to right click, rename the cube to spider enemy. And what we're going to do to make this actually work, well, hopefully correctly, is I'm not going to attach the spider to our spider enemy cube just yet because we're going to write some scripts first. So let's go to our scripts folder, and I'm actually going to create a separate folder for this just for now. So we're going to have it as, let's say, enemy scripts. So in this folder, we need to create a new script. And let's just call it, make sure it's a C# script, and we'll call it inflict damage. So let's open this up in Visual Studio or Mono Develop, whichever one you have. And we're going to start by declaring a couple of variables. So the idea of what's going to happen here at this point, so we can get rid of void start and any notes, we don't need them. We're going to start with public int, and we'll have, oops, typo, public int, and this is going to be the amount of damage that we can deal. Now obviously later on in development this is going to reference another script, but for now we're going to have it as a set amount, just a test. So damage amount, and we'll make it equal to 5 for now. And as I say, once we get our things like experience into play, our actual stats and everything is a calculation, that's when that will change. Next, public float target distance semicolon. So what this is going to be is basically how far our enemy is away from us at this given point. So obviously to counteract that, we're going to need a figure to say how far we are allowed to be away. So public float, and we'll just call it allowed range. And we'll make it equal to 2.7 for now, and we'll test and see if that's an acceptable figure. So what we need to do is in void update, we need to check if we're pressing the fire 1 button, which is the same as our attacking button. So if input dot get button down, and in quotes and brackets fire 1. So obviously if you're following the series step by step, yours will also be called fire 1. If you've named it something different, remember what that is, just head to your edit settings and have a look in there. And next what we need to do is declare a raycast hit variable. So raycast hit, and we'll just call it hit. Something real simple, because that's exactly what it is. And then we need to do if physics dot raycast, and we've done this before, so I'm not going to go into too much detail of how this is going to work, but we need to transform the transform.position, and then comma, and we need to transform the direction forward to make sure we are actually doing it forwards. So transform direction, and in brackets it's vector3 dot forward, close bracket, comma, and then we need to out the variable which we have called hit. So close that one up. I spelled position wrong there, and that's appeared for some reason. That should go later on. So now we've got that if done, what we need to do is make target distance equal to the hit.distance. So now our float is working. And now what we need to say is if the target distance is less than the allowed range, then we need to send out a request to another script. So if target distance is less than or equal to the allowed range, then perform the following action. And what we need to do is hit.transform.send message, and what we're going to do is we need to send out a message which is going to deduct points from our enemy's health. So we may as well just call it, in brackets and quotes, deduct points, like so. And what we need to do is the value of it that we're going to deduct, which in this case is damage amount. So damage amount. And then after that, we don't require a receiver because we don't need anything to be returned to this script. We only need to send from it. So send message options dot don't require receiver. Close bracket, semicolon, and then close curly bracket, and then close curly bracket, and then here, this one will close up the, in fact we need one more, don't we? Yes. So this one will close the original if statement, and this one will close the void update. Let's get rid of the extra blank lines there. And that is pretty much it. So if we save that script, and what we need to do is head back to Unity, make sure we have no errors. Perfect, no errors. If you have problems with these scripts, as I always say, you can get them on the website as well. Just download them from the downloads and assets section. And what we'll do is we will attach this to our player, So first person controller, first person character where the elven sword is. So if we double click, and what we need to do is we need to place this script on a new game object just in front of the first person character. So right click, create empty, F2, and we'll do inflict damage obj, short for object, and we'll place this straight onto there. And now this needs to be a little bit more forward, and I'm going to turn on our elven sword. So you can see we just need to bring it slightly ahead of our sword to about there. And if we press play now, we should be able to see if we attack, there's our target distance. So if we run all the way to our box spider, as I'm going to call it for now. So from here, if we try and attack, you can see the target distance is 17.5, which is well outside the allowed range. But if we're here, still outside, so we need to be about there, and we should be able to attack. So that's working. That's good for now. all we need to do is create the counter script for this to put onto the enemy to actually, well, make it hurt. So in the same folder, what we're going to do is right click, create C# script, and let's see, what can we call this one? Spider enemy. So this script is a lot shorter. It's nice and simple. And what we need to do is we need to get rid of void start and any notes, because once again we don't need them. Now void update is going to be the little place where if the enemy health is 0, we will, well, kill off the enemy. So we don't need to worry about that just for now, but we do need to declare an enemy health variable. So public int enemy health. My PC is being slowed, don't care. Semicolon. In fact, we'll actually make this equal to 10. So technically 2 strikes from our sword and the enemy will die. What we need to do is we need to do void, and then we need to put the name that we put in our message. So it's called deduct points. So void deduct points, and inside the brackets we need to declare that damage amount as a variable. So int damage amount. This helps the script recognize what it's actually doing, rather than just doing random things here, there, and everywhere. So at this point, what we need to do is enemy health minus equals damage amount. So what this does is takes off the value of damage amount from enemy health. And then if we obviously hit it again, it will do the same again. It will take that value off. And then we can close that up with a closed curly bracket. And within void update, we need to do the statement if enemy health is 0. So if enemy health equals 0, in fact we should probably put less than in case we do something like overkill later on. So if we make the enemy health go less than 0, that's what we need to have here. Open curly bracket, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to destroy the game object for now. So destroy, in brackets, game object. That's a lowercase g, uppercase O, semicolon, and close curly bracket. And then this one closes the update, and this one closes the class. So save that script. So where we have destroy here, what we'll do is we'll add in a death animation probably next episode, because it's going to be a bit weird if the spider just suddenly disappears. But this is how it's going to happen for now. So save, and what we need to do is attach this spider enemy to the spider enemy cube right there. So you can see, all good. Now let's head over there and let's check out our script. So with any luck, when we attack the spider, it should disappear, or rather the cube should at least disappear. So here we are, here's the enemy, let's attack. Okay, so it's not working as intended here. Why is that not working? So let's have a quick debug, shall we, and figure out what is going on here. So let's find our first person controller, the inflict damage. So logically what's happening here is it should disappear, but it doesn't. So let's check why. Let's go into our spider enemy, and our enemy health is 10. So let's try moving the spider out of the way. Let's just see if this is conflicting at any point. Let's move the spider out of the way. Spider enemy is all good. So let's go into the game. Let's try again. Okay. That's very, very odd. What we could try and do is we might try a little something different here. I'll have to look into why this is being a little bit silly. Oh, that's because I've put deduct point, not deduct points. That's probably why. Little things like this are very common in Unity, because even though that was an error, technically the console didn't realize it was an error. So hopefully you guys haven't done the same silly thing I've done. So let's retest this. And there we go. So what I noticed there is before the sword had even hit the enemy, it had decided to disappear. So what we need to do is put a slight delay on the enemy dying. So what I think we're going to have to do is do an IEnumerator here. So IEnumerator, and let's call it death spider, open close bracket, open curly bracket, and we'll do yield return new, wait for seconds, and in brackets we'll wait for, it's probably going to be about 0.8 seconds. And then what we'll do is destroy game object. So we'll cut that from there, paste it in there, close the IEnumerator, and instead of destroy object and avoid update, what we'll do is we'll do start coroutine, and in brackets death spider, open close bracket, semicolon, save. And now this should hopefully be the final test of this episode. We've had some ups and downs, we've had a few little errors, but everything should be as is now. So here's our spider cube. Let's attack once, twice. Okay, there we go. So I think I might change that to 0.5. That looks to be about right. So that is how we can actually incorporate attacking and destroying enemies. So next episode, what we're going to look at is getting this spider to kind of animate a little. So when we kill him, he ends up with a death animation. And we'll also start looking at the XP system as well. So when we kill an enemy, we want to gain experience. And this kind of thing will lead us on to more complicated things like working with levels. So until then, you work with your enemy, you get your functionality working correctly. Hopefully you won't miss out an S like I did. But there we go. So guys, until the next episode, thank you very much for watching.